Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're thinking about starting a new channel in 2022 or perhaps renovating one of your older channels that hadn't been growing, today is the day. It's the last day of 2021, right? So next year won't be easy given the current socioeconomic situation, the pandemic, the Omicron. What we want is to take our time to plan, to come up with new strategies and tactics to have a successful year in 2022. And today I prepared you 9 soul-searching questions to ask yourself before starting your channel in 2022. I want you to take a pen, a piece of paper, and write down your answers. And you can keep the answers to yourself. You are not obligated to share with anyone. But if you want to share with me and hear what I think, you can write me an email. I'll feel very honored to share the secrets with you. And if you want to have more support from the community, you can write a brief version of your answer in the comment box below, so other artists in our community can write you some feedbacks and you guys can help each other grow. So without further ado, let's get to today's video. 9 questions to ask yourself before starting your YouTube channel. Question number 1. Who is your audience? And this is actually the hardest question to answer, although it might seem to be the easiest. Maybe at the beginning of your channel, you make very basic tutorials, and after a year, you gain experience and you are so experienced and your techniques advanced so much, and you're making very advanced tutorials, but your audience won't be able to follow. So in this case, you will have to either go back to the baby steps, diluted or downgraded version of your technique for the beginners, or you have to start a second channel. There's no right or wrong, it's purely your choice. But what I mean is be careful what you wish for. You might get it and you might be stuck. It's kind of limiting, and this is the problem for everybody, right? Not just art on YouTube, but also other niches as well. So you might want to look at your growth, your curve, and project and make future-proof plans on what kind of audience you want to target. There's another mistake, a very common one among artists, is that you want to sell your art to your tutorial channel fans. They're not art collectors, right? Like they want to be artists like you, or maybe you are such a good teacher. After a while, they can paint like you, and some of them might even paint better because you're such a wonderful teacher. And here's the problem: they will never buy your work. So you cannot really wish things upon other people when you choose them for a different reason. It's almost like choosing a partner, right? Like you choose a very carefree, living every day like your last day, there's no tomorrow kind of very fun partner. And one day to another, you cannot ask them to be the provider, to be the hard worker, to be the responsible parent. Likely it will not happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying like you choose them for who they are, and you cannot dream or wish them suddenly become a different person just because it's convenient for you. Number 2, what are the problems you try to solve? Here, what I mean by problems, it might sound very negative. Actually, it's a very positive thing, because in the business school, we always say, what are the pain points? What are the problems you try to solve? Because you're giving a very good value to your audience, and they would like to buy by watching your videos, and you'll be very successful on YouTube. For example, maybe you are giving a solution to very busy business professionals who want to make a 5-minute craft, right? You're like a pottery teacher and you make 5-minute pottery tutorial. Okay, 5-minute pottery might sound a little bit too extreme, but at least you can make your video 5 minutes long when they are sending their kids to ballet class, dance class, and they just watch this pottery tutorial and they learn something. I'm just saying like this scenario, I'm just making it up. But there are some problems, unique problems that they have. For example, they don't have a big oven with ventilation. Maybe it's the household oven, they have to bake their food, right, for their kids, for themselves. So you have to come up with some solutions such as air-dried pottery. I actually did a research. If you are thinking about doing this, check it out. It's actually going to be a very good, very popular channel. Okay, number 3, are there anybody else who are doing similar things? Or do you have any competition? Here I mean competition. I don't necessarily mean another channel who is making 5-minute pottery for home, right? Like that would be very extreme, right? You want to make sure there's not other people who is doing exact same thing. What I mean competition is in terms of solving this problem, like problem of busy people who want to learn craft to feel good about themselves in their busy day or at work, or things like that. Maybe there are other channels who are doing other kind of crafts. They are your competition as well. For example, the 5-minute craft family is targeted at busy parents who doesn't have a lot of time but who want to spend time with their kid. So in this case, you can get inspired by your competition. I'm not saying inspired like you copy them and you say, oh, I want to make pottery for kids. I mean, you can feel inspired in a different way and make the opposite approach. Let's say Thanksgiving, maybe New Year, maybe Christmas and other holidays. Their kids are spending time with their grandparents, and you can make pottery for old people too, right? Like maybe their hands are a bit shaky, but there's no problem, right? This is a bit extreme, but this is just an example of studying your competition, and based on what they offer, you do a brainstorm and you do a deep analysis and using them as your reference and come up with novel solutions. Number 4, how are you different from them? Here I mean your unique selling point. Like in the previous point, it can be in terms of content. You're offering some unique content that other people don't make. It can also be a on-camera presentation style, right? It can also be anything, like even the art itself, right, is very special. And I would say coming up with a unique selling point for artists is not really a big problem, because artists are very creative and you can always come up with something new. But I think the problem really is how to market it, how to package it, how to put it in a very catchy way that people would recognize and remember. I know a lot of artists who have wonderful techniques and processes that an average person would not be able to recognize. So you have to put it in one sentence to make it like very catchy. For example, I follow a channel by Jade, and she is a 19-year-old high school dropout entrepreneur, and she really milks it. In every video, she's repeating. People know her by this because she is able to emphasize it in a way that people don't forget. Number 5, how do you get their attention? This is about marketing, because people's attention worth something, right? If you want their attention, usually you have to pay for ads, or you have to pay for some social media shout outs from big YouTubers or big influencers. If you don't have the money, it's very difficult to get traffic. However, there are some ways you can get free traffic. For example, we would like to use search engine optimization. It can be SEO within YouTube. It can also be a general search engine SEO. So you have to make sure you title your videos, you tag your videos. You can use apps like TubeBuddy or whatever software or website to analyze your title, your tags, to see the trends on search engine and social media, so you get the most out of your current existing content. Number 6, what drives you? I was hesitating if I should put this in the middle of all these questions. It's a bit abstract, but I think it's very important. What drives you is what matters to you, your core values. This value have to stay very coherent across all your social media channels, across different content, or whatever you say, you do, you show, it has to be okay with your values. For example, maybe your value is about no art school. You're against people paying a huge amount of money to art schools. You think it's a waste of money, waste of your time. And you want to go against the status quo and the establishment, whatever, just like an example, this is not my personal standing point, but I can't come up with another kind of example. In this case, if one day a famous art school invites you to give a speech in their auditorium, you can reject, or you can go but not tell anybody on social media, or you can go and shout out to the world like you are invited by this big art school and you're like somebody now. If your value is about no art school, in this case, I would say you cannot go with 3, right? You can maybe just do it, but very low profile. You can also convince the art school student they can quit the school, right? Like, it's not a big deal. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to art school at all, right? Like, it's just up to you, but you shouldn't shout to the world something that is fundamentally against your values. Number 7, what skills do you lack to become someone very successful on YouTube? Okay, here I don't mean that you must be lacking a lot of things. I mean that you should make a list of all the skills that you would like to acquire to become better on camera. It can also be lighting and audio recording skills, SEO skills. I don't know, you can also outsource those skills if you couldn't learn them. And if you really couldn't learn and couldn't outsource because you don't have the money and time, what you can do is to admit to your fans that currently you don't have this ability to do it. I know a big YouTuber who is already like, I don't know, like bigger than my channel, and she is a 50 or 60-year-old lady and she doesn't know how to edit her videos, and she actually says it on her channel, like, I don't know how to do the lower thirds. I'm gonna hold a piece of paper with my social media credentials. You can follow me on social media. She's not a nobody on YouTube. She could perfectly fake it until you make it. She could hire, I don't know, an intern and do all the things, but instead she chooses to be honest and humble. So I find it very cute and very relatable, very authentic, and I like her already. Number 8, what factors could potentially make you fail? It's like entering a construction site with a helmet doesn't mean that you know that you will have a brick falling onto your head. It's prevention. It means that you are going to come up with plan B, plan C, so that if plan A doesn't work, you are prepared to react fast. For example, maybe you are starting a new family, in a couple of months you have like a newborn, and in this case, you might want to practice some plein air shooting, right? So that you can shoot outside of your home, or maybe you can make some changes to your room, or maybe you can like integrate this newborn to your video. I know actually a very famous dentist who is playing with her newborn on camera when she's doing very professional dental advice and consultations. And people understand it because she's a mother, because she's run out of options, and she's doing that. And I'm sure when she was pregnant, she planned out like, okay, this is my plan A, this is my plan B. If everything fails, and I'm going to have my plan C, that is having my newborn on camera, not a big deal. I'm committed to continuing making the videos well, given the circumstances. Number 9, can you make it alone? Being an artist is a very lonely journey, and you're already painting alone all day, every day, and now you have to speak to a camera alone without a single soul in the room. It can be very difficult job, and maybe in a while you want to give up because people are not even watching your video at the start of your channel. It could be very devastating. That's why you need all the help you can get. Ask your neighbor's kid, ask your nephew. If you are a very young child, you don't have a nephew, ask your uncle, ask your grandparents, I don't know. Whoever can hold a camera like this, just like a very mini camera. I was able to teach a kid to use it in 60 seconds and get very decent footage. Just make someone stand behind the camera even doing nothing, so you feel more natural talking to the person. Have them ask you questions about yourself so you can do like very natural responses. All the things you can imagine. Is better to do it in pairs or in teams than doing alone. When an investor is investing in a startup project, he or she would look at the team. So if there is only one person, likely this project will never get any investment in the business world. So this is why it's important to have other people joining you, supporting you, and be your cheerleaders. Of course, you might be able to do it alone, all by yourself. I'm not saying that this is not an option, but you might be very lonely. So now you have heard the 9 questions that you should ask yourself. I hope you have a lot of things written on your piece of paper. Thank you very much for watching this video. Before finishing, I would like to give a big shout out to the supporters of our community on Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. We would not be able to do it without your guys. Thank you and see you in the next video.